And we've engineered that category now. But now it's the actual perception of your profile. Because the minute somebody clicks on your profile, we want to ask ourselves, and typically you want to ask yourself, what are they seeing in the first 3 seconds? Because this is what will happen. They're scrolling on their phone, right? Scroll. Cool piece of content. Click on the profile. What are they looking at first? Bio, profile picture, grid, straight away. And these 3 things should tell us these 4 things. You need to answer for them. Is this person like me? Right. Relatability content. Content that relates to other people. Are they at the level I want to be at? Aspirational and inspirational level content, which is why typically it's good to show you in affluent places like this, because people want to inspire to be like you. So today you go and you make content in a beautiful mansion like this. That's aspirational content.
Is your M4?
And sit in the M4, no problem. You can ram it as well. And that's aspirational content because people aspire to have the M4, which is why I do that. People aspire to travel, which is why I show my travel, right? You hop in a Lamborghini, people aspire to do that. So that's the type of content that you want to create. On top of that, you need to answer, can they actually help me with my problem? Because a lot of people are aspirational and they're likable, but you don't really believe that they can help you. For example, I don't know, like maybe not really likable, but someone like HS Tiki Taki, for example, right? It's like, yeah, you kind of aspire to have an SVR, whatever it is, right? SVJ, the nice car that he has, etc., etc. But it's like, okay, and you can typically say 19-year-olds might like him or how cool he is or whatever, but can he actually help me with the problem that I have? Not really. Okay. This TV, man. Maybe we should have used the projector. And then,
if you use a projector, you would have closed all the blinds.
yeah, you're right. And then this is the most important one. Most content creators, I'm sure you can all look at your content, guys are posting consistently, especially. They make, is this person like you for me? Is this person like me, right? Relatability content, most people do that. Most people also make aspirational content, inspirational content. But people also post value content, which is like, here's how you do high ticket sales. He'll post content on why you should have the receptionist, and this is the results of what it did for Sorrento's down the road, etc. And you know, it's gotten them less missed calls, etc., etc. But most people forget, how is this company or this guy the best guy in the category? Why are they the best? And most people forget to do that. You see, perception, guys, is your reality. Your reality actually isn't your reality. It's what people perceive you to be, right? It's not about what you are. It's about what they feel in the first 3 seconds that they look at your profile. If your profile doesn't answer all of these instantly, you're losing people before they actually even click onto your content and start scrolling. So this is really important that we engineer our profiles. A quick example of a bio, although this has, to be honest, I've created this in 5 minutes, right? So there's a lot of improvement that can be done in this specific bio. But the difference I want to point out is, this is a commodity bio. Nothing different about this guy. High ticket sales coach. I help you close more deals. I made 500K in the last year. First and foremost, not really that impressive. Cash collected, you sales guys know, 500K in 1 year isn't that impressive, right? It's good, but not impressive. You only show this type of proof if you have exceptional results. Because if you don't have exceptional results, they'll go to someone that has exceptional results. DM for info. Info for what? It's very vague. DM for info for what exactly? Very vague. You need to be specific. High-ticket sales coach. Okay, but there's 100 high-ticket sales coaches out there. Okay, and what? I don't care, right? Helping you close more deals. It's like, anybody can say that. Like, what's really the difference? Whereas when I'm here and I'm like, okay, I teach you how to close deals. I'm very specific first and foremost. I teach you how to close deals in 20 minutes. 20 minutes is interesting because a lot of sales guys, they typically struggle, and sometimes it takes them like 70, 80, 90, like 2 hour minutes to close these guys on a 2K package. And that's a pain point that these guys have. Because when it's taking them like 2 hours to flip and close a deal, now they can only take on so much sales calls in a day, so they actually end up making less money. So that's a pain point I've already called out. Now I'm showing them a unique mechanism, which is my conviction transfer method. Because when they look at this, they're like, conviction transfer method. Ayub says, I help you close more deals. And I'm used to that generic talk. But this guy says the conviction transfer method. Interesting. And it makes you think, and activates system 2. And then you go on and you show the transformation or the result, which is 78% of my students go on to make 5K a month within 3 weeks. This statement, you'll prove it in your content. That's very important. And then the only reason you can substitute one or the other, you don't put both because you won't be able to put this whole thing into Instagram. You only show like a very impressive result, which is 5.6 million closed in 12 months is a lot more impressive than 500K. So if you don't actually have anything impressive, don't bother even putting the proof in there in the first place, to be honest. It needs to be impressive. We need to be shown like we're the best of the best. We need to be perceived as really, really, really great. And then the last thing is the call to action. And the call to action is, okay, people have consumed everything about you. What's the next step that I should do? But here's the issue. Most people say, watch this, they just link their YouTube video and that's it, right? Or most people, they're like, DM me the word creator to learn how to build a personal brand or whatever. But you need to understand that the CTA in itself is a hook. The CTA in itself needs to be intriguing enough that they actually want to go ahead, and it needs to deliver an outcome. I need to understand what me taking this action is going to actually do for me. So for me saying DM me for more info, well, I don't really care about getting more information because I already have a lot of information. But when you tell me that, oh my God, guys, this is...
What is there now?
Because I don't think there's actually a real connection between them. So it doesn't know, it probably has the die out after 10 minutes inactivity kind of a thing. But when I say watch this video on the secret to closing high ticket deals without a script, for example, it's like, okay, you've actually called out to my pain point and you've called out the actual result that I'm going to get, which is that after watching this video, I'm going to figure out the secret to closing the high ticket deals without a script, which everyone wants to do that. No one wants these generic scripts. You know, you're just calling out to a sales guy's pain point, right? Moving on. We already actually did this one, right? So we're gonna go ahead. The last thing, guys, your content system. So we've decided, and we've built essentially our separate category. This is our positioning statement. Then we've taken a look at how we can differentiate ourselves through our profile. But now it's not just about your profile, it's actual videos that you post. This is really, really important. It's what to post, why, and how it moves people from stranger to buyer. Everything that we do in marketing and sales, I'm sure you sales guys can agree with me, is you're taking them from one state to another state. That's all we actually technically do, is we transfer them from one belief to the other. We transfer them from one emotion to the other. We literally are just selling what? We're selling a transformation, we're selling a destination. But it's really, really important when you do this sort of a thing, is that you need to call out to exactly where they are and call out to where they want to be, but you want to show that the process is actually really, really easy and that they can get there. They need to believe that they can get to that destination. This is the important, and this is how we translate it through content. So first and foremost, you need to understand, before you make content, what is my audience thinking? Like, what are people currently on social media right now thinking in my industry? Perception engineering is about meeting people where they are mentally, so what they're currently thinking now, and then you want to move them to where they need to be. This is really important. Your audience typically sits at different stages, and there's the awareness triangle, and typically has 5 stages. For content, I like to shorten it to 3 because that's all you really need, right? And most of you guys are only creating content for 1. And most of you only create problem awareness content. So you will make content about making people aware of the problem. For example, people in this category, which are problem aware, will typically think, I'm dieting, but my weight won't go down. So Dav will create content on why they're dieting, but their weight won't go down. So he's constantly making problem awareness content, right? You think you're being valuable. Yes, you are. Yeah, you probably are being valuable. But the issue is you're skipping the 2 other awareness journeys, because this is a buyer's journey, and typically your buyer will go through these 3 complete stages before they actually end up buying, which is, first and foremost, they become aware that they have a problem, which, yeah, you have a weight problem. I need to lose weight. Cool. The second thing is they're aware of the solution. We've got Ems here, and then we've got Dav here, and I know that they're coaches, and I'm aware of the solution, right? I'm aware that they're coaches who help with losing weight, but I technically still don't really believe that these guys can help me. I'm not really sold on that solution. And then the next one, which is the last one, is to provide selection. I know I need help, right? I know if like your shoe rips right now, I know I need shoes. The next thing to do is to just find a provider for that. And that's when, and typically this is when they're like, yeah, this person seems legit, right? Can they help me? Or these 2 people seem legit, which one should I go for? And this is where your unique perception, all right? This is where like it tips the edge typically. Now here's the thing. Your content must work across 3 stages. 3 stages. This is called TOF, MOF, BOF. Who knows what that means?
Top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel.
Sweet. Sweet. Do you know top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel? Sweet. We're gonna go through it now. Top of funnel content is content that you just need to post to get people's attention. Whatever you do, and this applies to every business, guys. I don't want you guys, some of you that are here saying like, yeah, this is cool, but it doesn't apply to me. It applies to you. It applies to you, whatever you do, product, service, like even a lawyer, it applies. And lawyers and all of these professional services are implementing these things. You just don't clock it because a lot of you just scroll to consume. I scroll as well, but every single post I analyze what the hook is, and I use my saved section. I save it. Every single post that I think is actually good, I save it. I understand the format, I look at the hook, and I'm like, okay, I'll save this. Now when I go to create content next week, I'll use that same format, I'll use the exact same hook, I'll use the same structure, but I'll add my own sauce to it, and I'll add my own information to it. So that's content on easy mode. But be very, very intentional as you scroll. Cool, you can consume and you can consume, you can entertain yourself. I don't really have a problem with that. I just need you to be intentional about it. And look at, okay, why did this video get 1 million views? Like, what about this video? And think about why. So the first type of content we need is TOF content. TOF content is like really, really, really wide. This is the content that you build desire, you build relatability, and you show your unique positioning. This is where you get new viewers, new followers, new profile visits. If you guys are struggling with leads, if you guys are struggling with followers, or you're just getting low views, this is the type of content you need to focus on. Forget BOF, because it's not useful. Forget MOF, because it's not useful. You need to focus on this. The next type of content is MOF content, and then BOF content. We're gonna go through them now in detail. The first one is top of funnel content. The whole purpose of this content is to literally just make them stop scrolling. This content should create desire. You want to show the outcome that you represent. You want to show relatability, which is for me, for example, I posted the video on overthinking, right? Or I posted the video on, I even posted a video on why I got married when I was very, very young. People at that age typically start thinking about marriage, right? When you're 23, 24, 25, 26, and you're successful, a lot of the times people at that age start thinking about marriage because these guys in their mind, they want to lock in early, they want to become stable early, because we all have the understanding that when you're successful, it's a bit harder to build more meaningful relationships. So I'm indirectly speaking to them about a topic that they're all very interested about because everyone's interested in women, right? It's the topic that sells the most. And I'm using that to my advantage. I'm using that stigma, that big aura around just women talk in general, and I'm using it to what? Promote my own business. So for example, an example of this, desire. I closed 40K this month working 4-hour days. That's the desire that people have. That you close 40K this month, you only worked 4-hour days. Here's what my Tuesday looks like. And you're showing a day in the life. You're not actually educating them anything really. And even if you are, it's very, very little value. But you're capturing their attention, and that's the main thing. People are like, interesting, and you stop them. Another example of that would be relatability content. I spent 6 months posting every day and got 3 leads. And this is the type of content, right, where people can relate to you because a lot of people post for 6 months and they only get 3 leads. But it's peer level type of content, but you're making a shift on the inside and you're teaching them a lesson, but you're indirectly teaching people. So you're not actually teaching people, you're not talking at them, you're telling them what you did, which indirectly teaches them what to do as well. This is a very important point. Is most of us, we try to constantly like talk to people, at people, but people are sick of being spoken at. You know, people are sick if I'm just here and I'm constantly telling you what to do. But if I'm here and I'm talking to Momo and I'm telling him, Mo, this is what I did and this is how I did it, etc. But you're listening in, you will be so much more inclined to take the information that I've said. So this is what we can do in that type of content. The next one is MOF. So the next content is middle of funnel content. And middle of funnel content is by making, a lot of people think middle of funnel content is providing value. So they sit down and they make videos trying to teach people how to do this, trying to teach people how to do that, and giving value. But middle of funnel content is actually about belief shifting, right? You're taking them from one belief to the other, and you're also making them understand why you're actually different. Like, what about you is different? This is the new content rules, guys. A lot of the old content rules is like, yeah, provide value. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore. There's an evolution of content. There's an evolution of how people consume content. And the rules that you've learned about 5, 2, 3 years ago just doesn't apply to today's content. And what I teach you today, in a year to 2 time, is probably going to change, which is why you constantly need to be on top of these trends and how people's evolution of, and you might think that the brain only thinks how it thinks. But I guarantee you that how the cavemen used to think and how their brain structure is completely different to now. In fact, the brain structure from today, which is scientific studies has been done on that, the brain structure from today is totally different to brain structure from 100 years ago. People 100 years ago didn't have phones. But there's been studies that have been proven to show that just scrolling, like doom scrolling, wires your brain differently. A brain scan, side by side, one that doom scrolls, one that doesn't, it's a completely different structure. So it's really important that you understand this. MO of content should break limiting beliefs, show them problems they didn't know they had, right? Then we pre-handle their objections. We remove friction before they DM us. And this is how you know if you're doing MOF properly. If people are DMing you and they either buy on DMs or they hop on a sales call, and it's usually like a very quick call, which that's what used to happen, right? To me, for example, I went through stages where I used to have to go through like 2-hour calls to convince people, and there were stages that people were just buying like that. And typically because I pre-handled the objections, right, on my content, not on the sales call. And then the last thing is your contrary position, which shows why your solution is fundamentally different to everyone else. An example of this, which is a belief breaking example. Maybe I should press this middle one constantly. An example of this is you don't have a content. This is my example. I can speak about, most people think they have a content problem. They think that if I just consistently post more and more and more, I'll get more leads. I can call out to that and I can say, no, you actually don't have a content problem. Your problem is your perception. And now people are like, perception. I've never actually heard about that before. Let me listen to this guy. He seems to have something different to everyone else that tells me post more or do this or the typical guru advice. So now they see the problem differently and you're the one who showed them that problem. So you're the one that belief shifted them. You've built authority, you've built trust there. People think you build trust by providing value and by showing them, oh, this is the 3 steps to do this. And yeah, typically, yeah, it's valuable, whatever, but that's not what people want anymore. People want more authenticity, but people like to think that you're unwrapping or they're understanding something new to what other people typically say, because us as humans, we like novelty, which is why these brands, right, which is why these companies consistently bring out new things, even though the old thing is probably still good, but they bring out new things because they know people get bored really, really quickly. And people constantly seek new solutions because it gives them more dopamine. Moving on. The last piece of content that you can make, which is typically the most important, is BOF, which is the bottom of all content. This is the content, guys, that converts people. This is what gets you the sales. This is what gets your trust. This is what gets people's trust, is bottom of all content. And most people, they either don't post enough or they do it wrong. A lot of people, they post Zoom calls of bottom of all content. And you expect people to watch that content. I'm gonna give you guys a crazy tip on this, is if you can take your bottom of all content, which is your client studies, case studies, testimonials, and you frame them as TOF content, that it has the desirability, the relatability, and just the engagement factor and the entertainment factor of TOF, but it's actually a BOF in disguise, this is how you make BOF that people actually watch. This is really, really, really important. And it's honestly it's a whole session on its own. So we're not going to be able to get into that, but jot that down. I want you to think about how you potentially can do that for your own brand. BOF content, guys, is client results, behind the scenes. You know, it's direct offers, CTAs. This typically happens a lot on your story sequences. This is where you can make the most money, literally. You make, and this is what Gary Vee says, or Alex Hormozi says, I believe. He says, what? Jab, 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 then you give a hook. You give value, you give value, you give value. And then the hook is the direct offer, is the CTA, is the call to action. Come, I'll do this for you. And here's the cool part, is the more you prolong and the more you keep giving value, you're nurturing people. Every piece of content that you post, guys, is an asset. Once again, as I said, you're building people's confidence, you're building their knowledge, you're building relatability, you're building likability. And people might not watch. I promise you, yeah, I've had people that have bought from me after 2 years of following me. People have bought some of my products or solutions or services after 2 years of following me. Because people have different ways, right? People have different nurturing cycles. An example of this is for the fitness coaches actually, behind the scenes. My client ate pizza every day for 4 weeks, but still lost 3 kilos. The cool thing about this video is me as someone that is not even slightly interested, for example, in the fitness jargon, like minus 500 calories or whatever. So instead of posting client testimonials, them speaking about, yeah, I had to do this and I did that. And everyone has the same kind of client testimonials because we're human beings and we typically all have the same stories, right? You frame it in a different, more interesting way. So you put maybe a challenge around it, right? You put a challenge around it that this guy ate pizza for 40 days, the initial example that we spoke about. This guy ate pizza every day for 30 days. This guy didn't eat pizza this guy didn't eat pizza, but did it the old traditional method. It's top of funnel because it's entertaining. But at the end of the video, it's proof that your method actually works. And this is the really, like, probably out of everything that I spoke about today, this is one of the most important parts that most people in content don't understand.
Is there a structure to posting all three of them, like keyword?
100%, 100%. I like to do this by reverse engineering your problem. So typically if you don't have enough leads and you don't have followers, etc., you'd focus mostly on TOF because you want to get the people to come in and follow you. So you focus like 70% or 60% TOF, 20% MOF, and bottom of funnel, like, 10%. As you gain more and more followers, more and more views, and people are more and more engaging with you, and you'll typically know that. It'll be clear people are starting to DM you, etc., etc. You start posting middle of funnel content, a lot more, belief shifting content, value content, etc., etc. After that, once you start posting that middle of funnel content, when people start texting you, DMing you saying, oh bro, you know what? I really liked that video, like it really helped me, or it did this for me, because I used to have people do that, for example, is they'd like DM me like, yeah bro, that was really, really good, or oh, the thing that you just taught me, like I'm starting to use that, I'm starting to see success with it. Now you know your middle of funnel content is actually landing. So what's the last part to doing that now? The last part is making bottom of funnel content, because you know he believes in your solution. He just has a little bit of hesitancy, and you just want to show him that there's other people that have went through that same path and they've been successful at the other side. So typically, for most people, right, the content split is every week plan your content across these 3 types, right? If a post doesn't fit one of these, don't post it. These can all be a mixture of TOF, MOF, BOF. TOF, MOF, BOF, once again, it changes depending on the stage that you're at, right? It's really subjective across person to person. This is also very vague. Once again, every single person depends on what stage they're at in their business, but this is the most average split, I could say, for just the average content creator, is 40% category content, showing how your category is different from the commodity. This is unique positioning, right? 30% framework reveals. So this is teaching your unique mechanisms in your name systems, etc. This is typically TOF. This is MOF, which is your framework reveals, etc. The last one, 30%, is proof of results, specifically for the guys that already have a lot of followers and a lot of, they're doing quite well, but they're not really getting sales. You need to up this more. Your proof of results. Show your category produces superior outcomes to everyone else. Life is about comparison. I don't just say, I did this and it got me this. I say, no, I did this that was actually different or better than this, and it produced better results than this. And that's where you win, right? The one takeaway, guys, that I want you to take from this whole session is that although everyone says post more volume and you should, instead of posting 1 reel a day, you should post 3 reels a day. Volume is the wrong answer if your perception foundation isn't solid. Like you're literally, a lot of people think that, yeah, content is good, it gives me beneficial returns. But what you're not realizing is that bad content is actually bad for you. It actually hurts your brand, because every time you post a bad piece of content that people don't engage with, first it's training the algorithm that people don't like you. Secondly, if I watched a video from Cornell and I didn't like it, am I really going to be inclined to watch the 2nd, 3rd reel that he posts? I'm probably just going to skip. And I know every single one of you typically have someone on Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, that once you see their story or once you see their content, you're just like, oh, this guy's a waffler. Let me just click, 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 click. Everyone has that. And it's the exact same with your Instagram reels. It's the exact same with your YouTube. You need to answer the position of questions before you post another piece of content. And if anybody has any questions throughout the day, guys, throughout the night, come. I'm happy to take a look at your Instagram, your positioning statements, give you a bit of advice on it. With that being said, thank you guys so much for your attention. I appreciate it. And yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Moayad. One last question.
Yes, yes.
Based on like my audience, say on my personal brand and my personal Instagram,
Yeah.
be more B2C,
B2C.
and I'm trying to sell B2B. Is it better to like come off Instagram and use LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff like that?
You can do, so typically, right, once again, it's all about, it's a whole research and discovery process. You have to ask yourself, okay, I'm dealing with restaurants. Where do restaurant owners or restaurant managers typically be on? If they're typically not really on Instagram, right, then you look at, okay, are they on LinkedIn? Are restaurant owners really on LinkedIn? I don't know, right? Like that's what you need to do your research on. Where are they at? And then you pick that platform and you zone in and you just focus completely on that platform and you master that platform. For example, someone that's working with AI agents for dealerships, typically these guys are mostly on dealership forums, especially the US dealerships, or they're typically going to be on LinkedIn. So this is where you post your content. Posting Instagram Reels for B2B or enterprises doesn't make sense, right? But even on Instagram, you still have B2C and B2B. B2C, you sell them on emotions, transformations, right? B2B, these people, they're a bit more sophisticated, so you focus on numbers, frameworks, systems. So B2C, when you're just selling to the average individual, emotions. B2B, results, numbers, everything needs to be proof, everything needs to be systemized, everything needs to be systematic, frameworks. Does that answer your question? Brilliant. Any other questions, guys?